this Norton Everywhere initiative, and I just wanted to give you some detail on what it is. If you look at the chart here, there's a lot of stuff, right? Today we protect the stuff as long as the stuff is a Mac or a PC, but every day more and more people connect to lots and lots of different devices. So we wanted to make sure that we had a way that we were going to be able to provide services, specifically security, to anybody who is using some other device to connect to the internet. So Norton Everywhere is actually made up of 3 different separate initiatives. The first one is our strategy for what we're doing on the mobile phones. So I'm going to pass around, I think the best way to kind of demo these is just to show them to you, pass around a couple of the Android phones. Today we have a couple of different apps for mobile, which I'll talk about. We have a broader solution called Norton DNS, which I'll talk about. And then we have a smart device strategy, which is to help other vendors who are delivering internet-enabled devices either manage those devices or make sure that those devices are secure when they're connected. So certainly smartphones are a smart device, but things like Blu-ray players, and we talked about refrigerators and lots of other interesting things are in that list as well. Okay? So let's start with Norton's smartphone security. A couple of different phones. These are Android. The cool thing about it is not only do you have access to the data, but you can email it out to other people as well. So this is something that is still in beta. We released it again as Norton Tiki. It's available for iPhone and for Android, and we expect for these to come out of beta. Norton Connect is available on the marketplace, but Norton Smartphone Security is not yet available on the marketplace. So you have something a little bit early. Files, it'll say retrieving listing. Basically, I'll be able to see all the files that are included on my backup. So that's what Norton Connect does, and again, our goal is to make sure that we give you access to all that data that you've stored using N360 or Nobu. The other app that we have is something called Norton Smartphone Security. So I'll kind of demo this. I'll do either application blocking or have control of the phone once you either lose it or it gets stolen. Okay, so I'll send this phone down this way, and these are both running Norton Smartphone Security. And let's say I'm in a cab or something, I lose my phone. What I can do is I can borrow somebody else's phone, and I can say, uh-oh, I need to do something about this. So I can just type in, I'll use a command, and I'll say lock, and I'm going to send it to the phone. I think I'm sending it to that phone. In a second, I'll actually get an indicator that the message was received, and it'll text me back saying successful, and that phone there. So I'm going to say lock. He'll have 10 tries to put in the right password. If he doesn't do it, it'll wipe the phone. Now, by wiping the phone, what does it do? Actually, it doesn't delete the apps, but it deletes all the personal data. So it deletes all of the data segment. So I just got a message, command executed successfully. It'll delete all the personal data. So if I had taken a bunch of pictures on that phone, and then if I said wipe, it would actually remove all of the data, even on the card. Okay, so the way we wanted to implement this was something to make it sort of quick and easy for users, not to have to go to a website and remember your username and password and log in. Wanted to be able to do this quickly. So the idea is you lose your phone, you know, someone steals it, you can just borrow a friend's phone and text yourself, basically, send that command, and then you'll either be able to lock the phone or completely wipe. I texted the phone, I used the command lock, I could use the command wipe, and then I used a password. I put in a password. Plain old text message. Now, in the future, we'll add some niceties like if I wanted to be able to go to my Norton Online account, you know, maybe could I track the phone? Could I do all the things that I'm doing from this phone? Sure. But in this version, the quicker way to be able to send something to someone was not to go find a web, browser and remember your username and password, just to borrow someone else's phone.
And if your lost phone isn't turned on?
If your lost phone isn't turned on, it won't get the message until it is turned on.
Does it detect if someone changes the SIM?
It won't let you change the SIM without putting in a password.
Right.
So once the phone has the smartphone security running on it, it won't let you do that.
Also, some of the products that already.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So what else can you do? there's a handful of things: application blocking, remote wipe block, live update, and renew subscription. If you click inside here, actually, I'm showing you an old screen. There's something called message management, and you can actually automatically send somebody directly to voicemail, or you can prevent them from sending you texts completely. So you have kind of a blacklist capability to prevent people, and it actually shows up once it's running. If you want, when the caller pops up, it'll ask you, is this a good user or a bad user? So you have that level of control. Now, we want it to just be able to sort of block the user completely so they don't even get anywhere, but we have to, again, work with the carriers to be able to support something like that. Okay?
One more quick
Sure,
thing.
sure.
If I've got your phone, I've stolen it, and you send the lock command. If I then turn off the phone, pull out the SIM, battery back in, then try and restart the phone and remove that app, what have you got there to prevent me from actually uninstalling the Norton application?
In that case, if I've just locked it and I haven't actually wiped it, it'll be open. You'll be able to get at it. Yeah. So again, and that's the question was asked. Without having a rooted phone, what can you do? That's one of the reasons why we don't completely factory reset, because you need root. So what we do is we find all the user level data and all the data that's on the card, and that's the stuff that we delete. Okay. So what else can you do? Application blocking. We will scan applications that you install onto the Android phone. Basically, this isn't like the fancy scanning that we do on regular PCs. This is a blacklist based on our research that we found for Android phones. So there's not a big list of things today. There are a handful of things that are either suspicious or they abuse on the phone. So you'll see a little scan when you run that'll tell you whether the thing is safe or not. So the examples that we blocked today there are some apps that like you can surreptitiously install on a phone, and then you can text the phone and turn it on, right, or collect data or send GPS or kind of spy sort of programs. So those are the kinds of things that we'll warn users about. So how many of you have an Android phone? Okay, so there's a handful, and you've seen when you install an app, it actually is helpful because it tells you all the things that the app is going to do, right? Which is great. Like the first 2 times you get the app, you look at it, you're like, oh wow. And then after a while, if you're like me, you just sort of go, okay, and you stop paying attention, which is what most users do. So we want to be there to help them, to let them know, like, hey, yeah, this solitaire game probably shouldn't have access to all this data and shouldn't be doing all these other things. So again, this is just an early version of what we're going to do with it. Live update is, again, just the technology to be able to push the new signatures. It just runs automatically. And there are some other things that we're planning on doing, but for now, in this version, that's what you'll see in the Android version. Again, it's only available for Android, but the Norton Connect app is available for both iPhone and for Android.